Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to explore unmasking a narcissist and the real strategies experts use. The goal is to understand how changing your behavior can reveal their true nature. We'll discuss what makes narcissists so difficult to handle and how to approach them effectively. This presentation will cover practical techniques to protect your sanity and maintain your boundaries. So, let's dive in and learn how to navigate these challenging dynamics with confidence. When you fall back into old patterns, you essentially restore the mask for them. It's like giving them the power to hide their true selves again. But if you stay steady and hold your ground with radical acceptance, you start to reveal the cracks in their facade. This is a crucial moment. Resist the instinct to rescue them or to comfort them immediately. Your job here is simple but powerful. Stay grounded. This is the moment when their mask begins to slip in private. They might suddenly become quiet, sad, or even apologetic, sometimes vulnerable. But remember, this is not genuine change. It's often just manipulation. Most people tend to break at this escalation. But if you can endure it, even a few times, you begin to see a shift. The narcissistic person starts to deflate because your refusal to react cuts off their supply. When you stop reacting, they escalate even more. They might attack your vulnerabilities, press your pressure points, accuse you, or insult you. This escalation is driven by one thing. Narcissists need your reactions. Your outrage, hurt, or confusion fuels their sense of control. So do not take the bait. Not once, not a little, not at all. The foundational strategy here is simple. Stop taking the bait, even when they escalate. By doing this, you protect yourself and weaken their manipulative tactics. Now, you become simply the witness, and others finally see what you've been living all along. You stop looking overly emotional, and you stop appearing like the problem or the unstable one. When others can see the narcissistic person's incompetence, irresponsibility, or recklessness without you running PR or trying to cover it up, their mask begins to weaken. This process can be uncomfortable, even painful at times, but it's also incredibly clarifying. Because when you stop shielding them from the consequences of their poor choices, the responsibility shifts to them, fully in view of everyone else. This might mean witnessing them ruin an event, a trip, or a day, or embarrass themselves in front of others. It could involve them making bad decisions, creating chaos, wasting money, or causing other disruptions. And often, that means letting them face the natural outcomes of their actions. Unmasking like this often requires a short-term sacrifice from us. But in the long run, it's about letting them fail, even if it costs us something in the moment. This is the moment where they expose themselves because they panic when they lose control. They become louder, meaner, more erratic, and everyone around you will finally see what you've seen for years. Their theatrics look obvious, their manipulation hits a wall, and their gaslighting has no effect anymore. Their accusations don't stick, and their old tricks stop working. When you reach a state of indifference, it's like seeing an ant problem in the kitchen, annoying but not defining. Or hearing a toddler screaming in a restaurant, background noise you learn to tune out. Indifference is what makes their tantrums feel like your expectations have fallen to zero. It's when your compassion stops overriding your self-preservation and your emotional investment begins to drain. Eventually, your life builds beyond them. That's what happens when you realize that indifference is not coldness. No, it's actually freedom. It's the ultimate unmasking tool because it strips away their power, revealing who they truly are, and allows you to reclaim your peace. It is only when others feel the sting directly that they finally believe your reality. For example, they might ruin the dinner, explode at the meeting, insult the waiter, or embarrass themselves in front of others. These are moments that truly get their attention. When they have a tantrum or act out, let them. Stop intervening. Stop softening their behavior. Stop managing their moods or cleaning up their messes. Stop protecting the world from their blow-ups. As long as other people are not impacted, they will never really believe what you're experiencing. This is an uncomfortable truth. Many survivors of narcissistic relationships spend a lot of energy shielding others, like the waiter, the kids, colleagues, friends, or other family members, from the narcissist's dysregulation. The key point here is to stop protecting others from their behavior, because if they're not impacted directly, they won't see the reality of the situation. This is about setting boundaries and allowing others to see the truth for themselves, rather than softening or covering for the narcissist's outbursts. When discussing problematic behaviors, it's best to focus on the actions themselves rather than labeling the person. This approach helps you avoid sounding accusatory or unstable, and it allows the facts to speak for themselves. For example, instead of saying, "He's a narcissist," you might say, "He refused to come, and I didn't have the energy for an argument." Instead of labeling someone as toxic, describe what they actually did, like she screamed at 3 people and insulted the server. The key is to tell the truth plainly and describe the behavior without resorting to diagnostic labels. If you want to see how someone truly behaves, especially someone with narcissistic traits, it's more effective to observe their actions rather than rely on labels. Our culture is oversaturated with terms like narcissist, toxic, or gaslighting, and unfortunately, people often react as if you're being dramatic for using them. So the best practice is to stop using these words. Instead, describe what actually happened. This keeps the focus on observable behaviors, which is far more powerful and less likely to escalate conflict. A narcissist will always sink their own ship if you stop trying to steer it. Your role isn't to control or fix everything. Instead, your job is to give them enough space to do that themselves. When you step back, you're essentially letting them take the reins, and that often leads to their downfall. Now, when you pull back, you might notice that you become the problem in their eyes. Their supporters, who are often loyal or convinced by their narrative, will defend them fiercely. Meanwhile, you might appear petty, emotional, or even unstable because you're challenging their version of reality. And here's the tricky part. Once you challenge them directly or call them out, they flip the narrative instantly. They turn the tables and paint you as the bad guy. It's a classic manipulation tactic to discredit you and maintain their facade. So even though it might seem tempting to confront them publicly, thinking it'll show strength or honesty, this approach often backfires. Calling them out in public can seem satisfying in theory, but in reality, it's usually disastrous. It gives them ammunition to manipulate others and damage your reputation. That's why, in this case, it's best to avoid public confrontations altogether. Instead, focus on managing your own reactions and boundaries. Remember, the goal isn't to win a battle publicly, but to protect your own peace and clarity. And that is the only unmasking that truly matters. It's the moment when you realize they no longer control your emotions, your reactions, or your peace of mind. Because the real victory here is internal. It's about reclaiming your power and your sense of self. And by the time that mask finally falls, my hope is that you're indifferent enough, that you no longer seek validation from others or from their opinions. When you reach that point, the need for external approval diminishes significantly. But here's the thing, many others will finally wake up when they see how the narcissist's behavior actually harms them. This can happen in families, workplaces, or even in relationships with powerful narcissistic leaders. Sometimes, entire systems can become like cults, where enablers keep supporting the dysfunction, no matter what. And sadly, some people still won't see it. Despite everything, even after radical acceptance, after practicing non-reactivity, even after cultivating indifference, some will remain blind or trapped in their own denial. This is the hardest truth of all. No matter how much you grow or how many insights you gain, you can't force others to see or change. You can only control your own journey and reactions. And that's often the most profound lesson in this process.